I feel like it's been eons since I've put one of these together. Gotta get back in the flow of everything. I recently visited my parents' house after college classes one day, and we had a really lovely dinner together. And we started talking about relationships, and I was mentioning how relationships are today and how I believe they should be. I'm going to backtrack before I get into how I believe they should be, because it's interesting. We are brought up in a society that exploits the heck out of individual lack. We're kind of, psychologically manipulated into thinking that we're not enough, we're not good enough, there's insufficiency always, and, once you get to that point that you think is enough, it's still not enough, and there's still something that you could do to be better. And I used to think this way. I used to buy into this. I was very unconsciously in tune with this idea of insufficiency and never being good enough. And I basically realized how ridiculous it is, because it's kind of an endless cycle. And when we buy into it, we do ourselves a massive disfavor, because there's a quote that I'm going to put in right now. I did not make, but it's one of my favorite quotes, and it goes, "The ego tries to tempt us with a sense of immortality that the soul already possesses." And what this means to me is that, we're tempted basically on a day-to-day basis to add things into our lives to give our lives more meaning. And, it's just like I was saying before, it's an endless cycle, and it's never enough, it's never good enough, and there always needs to be more. And what's interesting is that I've come to a point where, seeing past all of that, I've realized that I'm already complete, and that I'm already whole, wholesome. And, I was telling my parents that, and I found that it was very interesting, because, a lot of people, they're so brainwashed and manipulated by this idea that, they're never enough, and that they've always got to be doing something to get them to be more of a person, apparently. And it's a shit idea. It's not true. It's not accurate. And even more so, I see people getting into relationships these days. I used to do this myself, but I see people getting into relationships these days out of a desire to be fulfilled or to be complete, as if they're not already complete. And then they look at this other person that they're getting into a relationship with, and they basically say, "Your job is to bring me happiness." And not only is this a selfish thing to do, a selfish mindset to utilize, I guess the word is, but it's also a very unconscious and unnecessary way to live, because what's happened with us is that through our upbringing, we have been conditioned through layers upon layers upon layers into thinking that we're insufficient and that we're not enough. And really, all that we have to do is just, see straight through all the BS, the belief systems that were unconsciously created, and allow ourselves to realize this beautiful truth of, yes, I am complete, I am whole, I am fulfilled, and there's nothing that I'm going to do that's going to add anything to me. There's nothing that I'm going to do that's going to take anything away from me. Of course, be the best that you can be, but as you are, you are enough. And it's such a beautiful philosophy, because it counteracts everything that we've been taught. And of course, the masses, this is something that the masses don't want us to know, because if we realize this and live this way, we won't continue to buy into all of the BS that we're trying to be sold on, I guess. And it's fascinating, because, being brought up in this society, I see now from an outsider perspective, because, I realize personally that I'm already whole, I'm already complete. And living through that, it changes everything, because then you're not, reactive in this sense of, oh, I need this, oh, I need that, or, oh, I'm not sufficient, maybe I need to add this to my life, or, I'm not enough, maybe that will make me enough. And it's all the ego, and it just continues to bring us down into this spiraling abyss of never enough. And it keeps bringing us down and drawing us out into a really negative place. And this is why we see, not to get into it too much, but we think that we need these things in our lives, and this is why supply and demand is so high, and we don't need any of this stuff. And we're extracting these resources from this beautiful planet, exploiting the crap out of it, unnecessarily. That's why I said before, the ego tries to tempt us with a sense of immortality that the soul already possesses. And once you realize that, you're free.